eminent Chief Justices and judges, respected guests, and students of City Montessori School, good afternoon and Jai Jagat. We will start our afternoon session with another appeal by the students of City Montessori School. This appeal is about international arbitration that was done in the case of two countries, Chad and Libya, by the International Court of Justice. It's a very good case of how countries accepted the verdict of the International Court. So with your permission, we will now welcome the children to present the appeal to you. So without further ado, I will call upon our first speaker, Honorable Mr. Justice Chande Othman, Chief Justice of Tanzania. May I request each distinguished and eminent speaker to speak for 10 minutes, please.
Your Excellencies, former heads of state, Your Excellencies, Governors General, Honorable Chief Justices and Justices, distinguished delegates, invitees, dear students, good afternoon. On behalf of the Judiciary of Tanzania, I wish to express our sincere appreciation to the organizers of this conference, in particular to Dr. Jagdish Gandhi and Professor Jita Gandhi and the City Montessori School for their warm hospitality, both here and in Delhi. Allow me to use this occasion to revisit and I think re-examine, but very briefly, on one major issue, I think whose fight for eradication continues to enlist an unwavering commitment. And that global problem is child labor, which the International Labour Organizations defines as work that deprives children of their livelihood, their potential and dignity, and that is harmful to their physical and mental development. In fact, in 2013, ILO estimated about 168 million children, some as young as you here in City Montessori School, are engaged in child labor in the world, and more than half of them in what we know is hazardous work. You have to understand that both under national, regional, and international law, not every form of child economic activity is outlawed. ILO Convention 182 on the elimination of worst forms of child labor calls upon states to eliminate all forms of child labor as a matter of urgency. And these worst forms of child labor have been identified as including all kinds of slavery, the sale and trafficking of children, the use of children in armed conflict, both international and non-international, and also their engagement or use in illicit trafficking in drugs and so forth. So the problem is, as I said, universal. In Mexico, children are enlisted, very young age, in harvesting of opium. In the United States, they engage in harvesting tobacco.
But without proper governance, we cannot expect. There is one Latin maxim, ubi jus ibi remedium. The meaning is, when there is a right, there should be remedy. There should not be any right without any remedy. You know, this United Nations Organization, General Assembly, declared human rights on the 10th December 1948. The declaration contains 30 articles. The first article itself says, all born equal with all dignities as a human being. That should be protected. Now we go to Indian Constitution, Article 14 is there. Article 14 says equality before law and equal protection of law. As per Article 14, 15 and 16, there shall be no discrimination on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, as per Indian Constitution. The same is available in the Declaration of Human Rights, declared by the General Assembly of the United States. What happened? Is it practically possible? That is not possible because there is no enforcing agency. How can you enforce? If some state is committing racial discrimination is there, some genocide is there in various countries, even nearby countries, then what is the mechanism to undo this? Nothing is available. Because ICJ is concerned, International Court of Justice, there must be a treaty that is binding only the parties to the treaty, not beyond that. Even if there is a violation, the only body is Security Council. The Security Council, 15 permanent members are available, 5 are permanent members. United States of America, UK, France, Canada, China. Why they are permanent members? Another thing is, in the morning itself, we hear the beautiful voice of the students. Abolish veto. What is veto? One country, by using this veto, can solve everything. He said again, in favor of human rights. It is certainly against human rights. It is against democracy. During the Second World War, they showed their efficiency, technical know-how. That's why they got some recognition. That should not be a permanent reward or award to be a permanent member. In fact, the biggest democracy in the world is India. We have 130 crores as on today. We have only democratic setup, but we are asking permanent membership in the Security Council. That is not available. Therefore, what is required is, we need world democracy. Next question is it possible? Certainly it is possible. Because in India and USA, we have two-tier system. Two-tier system means the state government is available, central government is available. State government is vested with certain powers are vested with central government. External affairs, this military powers, currency, banking, universities, or central powers, local administration, police force, college education, so many state force. Therefore, there is a margin. State cannot encroach the central power. Similarly, center cannot encroach the state power. If it is there, the affected party can approach the High Court by filing a writ petition under Article 226 or directly before the Supreme Court under Article 32 of the Constitution. Therefore, the remedy is available. But if you go to UK, only unitary form of government is available. Unitary means small country, no two-tier system. The parliament is there, executive is the government, and judiciary is there. Therefore, single system. Small countries more or less having only single system of government, legislature, and the judiciary. But in India, no, as per our constitution, we have single judiciary. The framers of the constitution thought it proper that we should have only single judiciary, otherwise there will be controversy. The unity should be protected because various culture, various linguistic problems are there. Therefore, they thought it proper to have single judiciary. Now, why don't we have three-tier system? Certain powers are with the state government, certain powers are with the central government. Let there be certain powers with the world government. Therefore, we need world government. That is possible. Similarly, we need world parliament. We need world judiciary. Unless there is world judiciary, we won't have any effective enforcement of world laws. Yes, we cannot protect human rights. Even if there is a violation, they can send only reports or condemn the attitude, but we cannot do anything. Is it not? In the morning, the respectable convener of this conference beautifully said about the religion. What is God? What is the preaching of various religions? What is soul? What is super soul? What is Almighty? No, very wonderful speech. It should reach the people. How is it possible? No, we must appreciate that students are properly educated. Students means more than 52,000 students are available. It's the Guinness record. It has got Guinness record by its glorious service. Now the students are equipped. They are future citizens. They are the leaders. They are the judges. Therefore, doing wonderful service. That must be appreciated by the world community. I don't want to say further. But that was there by way of resolution by some other judge. That will be considered by the appropriate authority. What I want to say is, we are the world community. We think that there should be peace and security. By achieving this, for achieving this, we need only world government, world parliament. World parliament means, even in India, this state, UP is having number of MPs. Whereas Tamil Nadu less than UP. Pondicherry only one MP is available because union territory, based on the population. Why not be the world parliament based on the population? Let there be members. But in the Security Council, why don't you give accommodation for big countries and other countries also? When they are following the democracy properly, they are following rule of law. Rule of law is paramount. What is rule of law? Law should rule the people. Law independently cannot, but human agency. To rule the country, that is required. Therefore, I cannot take so much of time. Already the organizers informed that should not take more than 10 minutes as allotted. That will affect others' right. I once again convey my thanks to every one of you for your patient hearing and the organizers. Thank you one and all.
The Honorable Miss Justice Brenda Maria Burgos, Judge of the Supreme Court of Justice of Uruguay, and the interpreter. Yes. Thank you so much for agreeing that
it's a pleasure to share this time with you. In my country, Uruguay, I am a family judge, and on behalf of my profession, I have come to propose a reflection in order to become effective the world's children's rights.
As you all know, India has subscribed the Convention of the Rights of the Child at the end of the year 1992. In my country, it was done in 1919 through the ratification of the law 16.137. Subsequently, Uruguay approved the Childhood and Adolescents Code through law 17.823 in September 2004. Since the time the work on these conventions subjects began, and up to date, a great advance has made according to the vital human rights established in the mentioned convention. But in spite of the time passed, a lot more is to be done yet in the national and international level. As time passed, new problems have arisen that led to adding articles to the convention and modifications to our internal law in order to update the situations that keep on arising. New problems continue to appear that compromise the physical or psychological integrity of the children. Only to give you some examples, the climate change, the economical crisis, danger that technology has caused in some aspects, changes in the family structures, inter-family violence, the difficulties to feed their family, the dangerous urban gangs recently surged called pandillas, whose violent conduct bring very negative influences, the new wars, epidemics, only to name some of the problems. The concept of best interest of the child was the basis of the convention's text, and it was stated that this way in its Article 6, that best interest obliges the operators of the rights in my country to risk their opinion on the best benefit to the child involved in the judicial procedure, in which the future of this child has to be decided, without prejudice of his or her right of being heard in the process, which means taking into account his or her opinion, because children and adolescents are right subjects and they must be treated according to their condition. The judges in my country, under the protection of content of Articles 72 and 332 of our national constitution, have applied in our judgments and resolution the basic principle of the doctrine of the comprehension protection. This doctrine has been applied in relation to all childhood and adolescent involved in a family, penal or abandoned judicial processes. And this requires the implementation of the compulsory defense for the child, defense that must be assigned only for him or her. And most important, the direct contact of the judge acting in the case with the child or adolescent involved in the process, taking into account that his or her age and condition that allows it. This activity is of the most importance as he or she is heard in presence of the defender with total freedom in his expression according to his or her age and maturity. The judges must be prepared for this and in this way grant the right of the child to be listened. Without forgetting the important intervention of the prosecutors who have been entrusted the task of looking after and protecting all the rights we have mentioned. But even during the activities out of the courts, we must indicate that the best interest of the child must constitute not only in right but in fact a world purpose. So we have to consider two fundamental aspects. One, the best interest of the child is a supranational concept. The Convention recognizes the best interest of the child as a significant principle that is going to show the way and guide the adoption of all those measures that assure them. Second, the legislation of the countries that have ratified the Convention must be compatible with the rights stated in it. However, it may occur that a country could have a legislation compatible with this one, and now it has changed. The social, political, and economical circumstances of a country can vary through the time. No doubt, the countries that have subscribed the Convention should observe, demand, and realize all the necessary efforts in order to fulfill the established regulations. They can't be suspected of the violations of the subscribed international rights, but real participants of the effectivization of the rights already granted. A country in which their children suffer due to the violation of their rights, suffer violation of their best interest, violation that places them in high risk and extreme vulnerability. This country, consequently, should be capable of asking for international help in order to change this situation, and that help should not be denied. So no place for political prouds should exist when such an important matter is considered. We know that this is not easy, but we must direct ourselves and take steps towards the real globalization of the childhood justice. On the other side, we have the rights that are daily violated, but these violations are not visible or are considered as normal circumstances in each country, according to their idiosyncrasy. Last year, Kailash Satyarthi obtained the Nobel Peace Prize in recognition for his effort, and this should be followed not only by individuals but by all the communities. The reflection I am asking you is precisely this one. Have the written rights really made effective after more than 20 years that the Convention is in force? What can we do to improve the observation of the best interest of the child from the schools where law is taught? Should it be brought to discussion systematically, year by year, a serious and compulsory investigation of the subject by the students, leading to a world evaluation and formulation of activities to improve the problems already present and others that will appear? Or do you think students should only have the obligation of reaching the day of their graduation? In my humble opinion, the students should also should have effective participation in the real world's changes, necessary participation, and without its existence, their efforts will only address to material objectives, losing the ethic purpose that gives life to the law principles. This activity requires a change of mind and a change of steps to take in the future. These changes refer to the children and adolescents' right in cases in which their problems has been a matter of process before court, as well as respect of the mentioned right in daily life, and even more in extreme situations such as war or catastrophe.
The effort is responsibility. As Mahatma Gandhi said, all reward is found in the effort and not in the result. A complete effort is a complete victory. Thank you very much.
Honorable Mr. Justice D.P. Singh, Chairman of the Armed Forces Tribunal, UP, India.
Thank you for inviting me. Good afternoon. Namaskar. I am attending this function every year right from beginning. In audience as well on the dais, all dignitaries are present, who might be, some of them might be coming first time. But I have seen no change in the world scenario, whether it is going to be worse day by day. Terrorism, child sex abuse, so many social evils are growing up for different reasons. The deliberation among powerful nations is sarcastic with a race to pile weapons. The religious fanaticism is airy and horrible. In this 21st century, Judas Maccabeus, 165 BC, is again raising head with uncanny attempt to create permanent scar on the humanity, forgetting that blood will have blood. In such scenario, international peace, brotherhood, and tranquility is at stake. Some nations, instead of attempting to solve their dispute through dialogue on logical ground, are attempting to expand their arena by illogical reasoning. Persons having devilish thought and conduct tend to overshadow whole world. I read a quote from Lord Tennyson's poem, which actually depicts the ground reality of today's world. To quote, "There is not to make reply, there is not to reason why, there is but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Millions of people migrated only from Syria, that the figure comes to around 13 lakhs. They are leaving for Jordan, Libya, Turkey, Iraq and European countries. And similar migration to some extent took place from Croatia, where the problem of homeless peoples are creating trouble. Peoples migrated from Myanmar, that those are Rohingya Muslims, to other countries at the stake of their life. In consequence, these migrations and inner conflict, whole world is suffering. Now believe the bad governance and ethnic violence in one country become problem of not only neighboring countries, but it becomes global problem. The sovereign rights, the sovereignty seems to have been shrinking since it affects the other's right and dignified life of living. The life, the social structure, the governance of every country is based on their own infrastructure and financial capacity. Every country manages affairs, road, hospital, law and order, etc., keeping their own population. When this flux of migrants go there, naturally they are in problem. Unless such problems are tackled in the respective state itself from where they originate, we will not have permanent solutions. Even yesterday, peoples who were on peace march in Turkey faced the death. 86 died, thousands injured. This is a sorry state of affairs. We can speak, we can hold ceremonial conferences, but without output, unless it is rightly convinced by this audience from last 16 years, there must be globally enforceable government under this princess of United Nations, enforceable judicial system at global level. Because unless we have got some enforceable law at global level, these things will not stop. Apart from migration, The modern weaponries have created opportunity to superpowers to test them in the event of inner conflict in developing and underdeveloped nation without sanction of security councils. In Iraq, it is said more than 6 lakhs people died. Similar death took place in different countries, right, like Vietnam, Lebanon, even Indo-Pak wars. State-sponsored cross-border terrorism multiplied the agony of human race. Number of homeless citizens and sufferers, creating world problem. Killing of media persons, citizens, children, young and old by extremists in Middle East is disturbing and bleeds our heart. Use of children by terrorists is a matter of deep concern. Upanishad says, whole world is a family. Whether it is Islam or Christianity or whether it is Hinduism, all says God in was one. Then why the peoples are in some part of the world fighting, treating the God as their own property? Let us ponder over it. More or less, different religions believe in God and its oneness. Then why the people are fighting, killing each other on one or other ground in such situation and on account of unenforceable international law? Elite Security Council overshadowed by superpowers shall not meet the requirement to deal with the present scenario which the world is facing or may face in coming days. Migration from different countries is creating more trouble, and in future I feel that because of failure of governance in different countries of the world, there will be lot of migration from one country towards other. The world government must be formed, and we should look into how to deal with this futuristic problem. Commission and omission on the part of nations against violence and terrorism may cause pain and mental agony to the human race, not only days to come but for centuries. Coming generations shall not forgive for our inaction and failure to establish peace and harmony by eliminating rowdyism and terrorism. Faith, always remember, those who are dependent upon terrorism, they must understand that faith or religion cannot be thrusted on humanity by compulsive actions or fear or by threat of punishment. Only the persuasive efforts showing dignified outcome may result with permanent gain for the cause of unity. Krishna says, individual and cosmos depend on each other. There is a constant interchange between human life and world life. He who works for himself lives in vain. Those who do not work and help to turn the wheels set in motion is even by nature. Sacrifice is necessary for peace and orderly society. The great Indian sage, philosopher and guide Swami Vivekananda says, emphasizing the transformation of mind, said, to quote, the divine within man can be manifested through karma, bhakti, jnana, raj, yoga. Man does not travel from error to truth. You cannot get anything by wrong means. There cannot be traveling from error to truth, because the truth is God. But from truth to truth, from lower to higher truth. It means by devilish actions no one can establish religious phenomena or follower with everlasting effect. Because of fear or death or punishment, people may compel to do certain things, but the government sends someone to help eliminate these satanic forces, then people shall revert back. This is what Vivekananda says. Now time has come. Let these basic principles of life be taught to our children, not only in CMS, but a global level. Exploitation of children cannot be stopped unless the peace and fairness in state action exist. Jesus did not run away. Jesus did not run away, but opted to crucify him, showing right path to human race with full of compassion, love and tolerance. This is what Indian civilization, the prophets born in this country, said from time to time. But things remain. What Krishna says, We have to fight. We have to fight with the devilish people. Principle of natural justice fails, persuasion fails, and they are not agree to follow the civilized society, then what is to be done? This is what we have been taught by Gita, Lord Krishna. My children must have read Kipling's Man-Eater of Humayun. Some of you must have been read. Then what the man-eater, if tiger become man-eater, then what is to be done? This is what in Kipling's Man-Eater of Humayun, then he has to sort down. These man-eaters, these terrorists are man-eaters. They are killing. Can you see the television every day? We are fed up. Small children of 6 and 7 years are given gun instead of sending them to school. Recently, Pakistan Supreme Court has done one thing, though it belated stage. Supreme Court says trial of terrorist by court-martial is justified. This is an unanimous decision of Pakistan Supreme Court. But we are not for that. The trial of terrorists, as my sister from Peru said, they are following the law. The trial of terrorists should not be by common law, but by tribunals. We may go back to Second World War, where during the Nuremberg trial, the tribunals were constituted to try the genocide, persons who are responsible. Actually, they are doing genocide. They are killing people. They are killing innocent people. Then why they should be given the facility of regular law by different countries? They are to be tried by tribunals, multi-member tribunals, by open trial. Open trial. You see, in India, Kashav was tried for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Then he was hanged. Nothing will happen. You follow the shortest way, which may inspire public confidence. Justice be done with due compliance of natural justice, but not delaying test. By the time you convict them, by the time you send to gallows or imprison them for life, its weight, its effect goes down. It requires immediate trial to save the world, whosoever involved in terrorism. Every country is facing terrorism. Those who are living peacefully today, their turn may come tomorrow. So at international level, there must be some formula. There must be some understanding to enforce the international law to check the terrorism. This is what I mean to say today. Thank you very much. I again thank the City Monterey School, its staff, teachers and children, my friends in audience and dais, who have permitted me to express my views. Thank you very much.
Summarizing. I would like now to invite the Honorable Miss Justice Kamara Nanaba, Vice President of the Supreme Court of the Ivory Coast, and the interpreter. May I invite you, please?
Dr. Jagdish Gandhi, animateur de la Conférence internationale des présidents de Cour suprême du monde et directeur fondateur de l'école de la ville de Montessori. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, les présidents de République, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, les présidents de Cour suprême, Mesdames et Messieurs, les hauts magistrats, Mesdames et Messieurs, les experts et formateurs, honorables personnalités, chers étudiants, chers participants, tous en vos rangs, grades et qualités. L'honneur me choisit de représenter Monsieur le Président de la Cour suprême de Côte d'Ivoire, René François Atinkwasi, qui n'a pu être ici pour des raisons indépendantes de sa volonté, et vous dit tout son regret. Il me charge de vous transmettre les salutations et les félicitations très chaleureuses de son Excellence, M. Alassane Ouattara, président de la République de Côte d'Ivoire, et de vous traduire sa profonde gratitude pour l'avoir associé à cette rencontre de haut niveau en vue de réfléchir sur les grandes questions d'actualité de notre monde et surtout de réfléchir sur les idéaux, la vision et la mission de l'établissement scolaire de Montessori, qui considère que l'école moderne doit agir comme un éveilleur de conscience et se préoccuper des questions relatives aux enfants. Le thème général retenu pour cette 16e conférence est, à juste titre, renforcer la protection des enfants par la mise en œuvre des lois mondiales et une bonne gouvernance universelle. Et pour approfondir l'objectif principal poursuivi au cours des 15 dernières années, il nous a été proposé de méditer sur le thème suivant: bâtir un avenir plus sûr et plus stable pour plus de 2 milliards d'enfants et les générations futures du monde. La Convention de 1989, qui a concrétisé les droits de l'enfant, définit celui-ci comme tout être humain ayant moins de 18 ans, sauf quand la législation nationale en décide autrement. Ce qui caractérise l'enfant, c'est sa fragilité et sa vulnérabilité. La Charte africaine des droits et du bien-être de l'enfant est venue renforcer ses droits fondamentaux, à savoir le droit à la vie, à la non-discrimination, à la dignité, à une identité, à une nationalité, à l'éducation, à un niveau de vie décent. Il a droit de jouir du meilleur état de santé, de vivre avec ses parents, de bénéficier d'une protection particulière. La Côte d'Ivoire, à l'instar de nombreux pays, s'est dotée d'instruments juridiques de protection des droits de l'enfant et a élaboré une politique d'application, de mise en œuvre et de suivi permanent de ces instruments. Elle a ratifié les conventions et chartes internationales et sa constitution consacre de nombreuses dispositions aux droits des enfants. La création d'un parlement destiné aux enfants a élevé le sens de la responsabilité de ceux-ci. En matière d'éducation, l'école est obligatoire pour les enfants de 6 à 16 ans. Par cette politique de scolarisation obligatoire, avec des mesures d'accompagnement, la Côte d'Ivoire veut donner à tous ses enfants, filles et garçons, le droit à l'éducation et à une formation de qualité. Au niveau de la santé, l'assurance maladie dénommée couverture maladie universelle permettra à chaque habitant, dont les enfants, de se soigner à moindre coût. Par ailleurs, d'autres mesures ont été prises en matière de logement pour rendre décent le cadre de vie des enfants, à travers la construction de logements sociaux. Un comité national de surveillance des actions de lutte contre la traite, l'exploitation sexuelle et le travail des enfants a été mis en place. Des organisations internationales représentées en Côte d'Ivoire ou de droit ivoirien, telles Children of Africa et UNICEF, mènent un combat acharné contre ces fléaux. Unissons donc nos efforts pour éradiquer l'extrême pauvreté et la faim, assurer l'éducation primaire pour tous, promouvoir l'égalité des sexes et l'autonomisation des femmes, réduire la mortalité infantile, améliorer la santé maternelle, combattre le VIH-Sida, le paludisme et les autres maladies endémiques, assurer un environnement durable, mettre en place un partenariat pour le développement, asseoir une structure de prévention des conflits, de règlement des différends, d'assistance et d'indemnisation des victimes. Veiller à la bonne application des lois, conventions et traités par des décisions de justice justes et équitables. Investissons-nous dans l'intérêt des enfants, dans tous les secteurs d'activité, pour pouvoir poser les fondements d'une société juste, d'une économie solide et d'un monde libéré de pauvreté pour éviter l'immigration massive des enfants en quête de bien-être. Oui, unissons-nous, corps et âme, et investissons ensemble dans la quête du bonheur pour nos enfants et pour nous-mêmes en fin de compte, car le magnifique, l'extraordinaire, le merveilleux monde des enfants de City Montessori School nous y invite. Nous le voulons, nous le pouvons. C'est l'optimisme kantien et il doit nous habiter tous pour la sauvegarde de l'humanité. Merci.
Dr. Jagdish Gandhi, host of the 16th International Conference of Chief Justices of the World and founding director of CMS, Honorable Head of States, Honorable Chief Justices, High Magistrates, distinguished experts, dear students and participants, and people.
May I now invite the Honorable Justice Dr. Francesco Boffa, Judge of the Supreme Court of Cassation, Italy. I understand that your speech is in English? Yes.
Distinguished delegates, dear students, ladies and gentlemen, let me start my speech expressing my sense of a deep esteem to Mr. Jagdish Gandhi and to Professor Geeta Gandhi Kingdom, and my gratitude for the invitation to take part in this 16th International Conference of Chief Justice of the World. I wish to really congratulate with the City Montessori School for the perfect and really impressive organization of all the activities, and to tell you that I feel really honored to be here in an institution which won the prestigious UNESCO Prize for its activity for education and peace.
May I just disturb by just saying that, I asked the Honorable Justice from Italy, what the Court of Cassation was, and he said that that was the Supreme Court of the country, and that he was the youngest member of the Supreme Court, the youngest judge in the Supreme Court of Italy. So it's a great honor to have you here, sir. It's a great honor. At the age of 47, he became a judge of the Supreme Court of Italy.
Thank you, Professor. As all we know, peace does not mean only lack of war. Peace is also enforcement of the rule of law, and on a different side, it means redistribution of wealth, which only could grant equality of opportunities and real freedom. Peace is protection of the fundamental human rights and defense of the dignity of person at any stage. Peace is also education to peace, to enable every child to become just, and to inculcate in him the feeling of brotherhood, understanding, and humility. The conference is dealing with subjects that I consider crucial, and it analyzed the threats and attacks, we saw there are so many, to peace and justice. Many of these threats have in common that they can be faced only at the national stage, as they involve the need of an international cooperation among the different national authorities, and moreover, a dialogue between judges. Judges have indeed the burden of protecting human rights also when national laws are insufficient to that goal and when they are not able to lead to a fair solution of the disputes. It's our job and our mission. We are dedicated to justice, composition of conflict, enforcement of universal values, respect of dignity of persons, grant for equal opportunity for all, protection of the rights of everybody. Therefore, I'm glad, very glad to see that the participants here these days include representatives of the highest court of many countries. In the lack or insufficiency of a global authority empowered to solve international problems, only an ongoing dialogue between judges may lead to common solutions applied in the same way in different countries, to a unity of determinations, a result of a participated, universal feeling of brotherhood, and with the aim to protect fundamental human rights. As to this dialogue, it would be worth the effort, even if it didn't take to immediate results. On this point, it seems to me that this 16th International Conference has achieved its goal, that is to promote this dialogue. An international meeting of judges at the higher level improves the knowledge of the instruments of the judicial cooperation, inculcate a mutual trust, make us aware of the existence of situations that are complex as they happen at the international stage, and make us overcoming the ignorance of the real dimension of the phenomenon and of its consequence. And we know that ignorance is our worst common enemy, as it leads to fear. Article 51 of the Constitution of India says clearly that the national system of rules is open to the international community, as it provides that the state shall endeavor to foster respect for international law. In the Italian system, we also have constitutional principles which impose to our authorities and also to judges to respect the obligations which arise from international community. In our system, therefore, international rules are immediately applicable by national judge, who can set aside a national rule conflicting with the former. This happens with the rules of the European Union, that is the organization that many European countries, now there are 28, set up after the horrors and atrocities of the Second World War, creating a system that the Polish sociologist Zygmunt Bauman called as the best life insurance contract for peace and prosperity, un contrat d'assurance sur la vie. This gave Europe 70 years of peace. On the other hand, in Europe, we have since 1950 the European Court of Human Rights, which is in Strasbourg, France, where I'm not seconded a judge at the moment. ICCJW is a jurisdiction that stretches from Reykjavik in Ireland in the North Atlantic to Vladivostok in the Pacific coast of Russia, giving protection to human rights of 1 out of 7 of world population who can directly lodge with the court individual applications without any intermediaries. Now, in my conclusions, please let me address directly to the students of CMS. You deserve a safe future, as future belongs only to you. Don't be afraid to ask for respect of your life, but never forget to feel solidarity with the weakest and the poorest, and do require that all public powers make all their efforts to ensure the respect of human rights for everyone. Guys, you may trust in judges. We are by your side. What we require from you? I will tell you with the words of an ancient Roman jurist, Ulpiano, who many centuries ago recommended us to, I quote, honeste vivere, alterum non ledere, uniquique sum tribuere, that can be translated as be honest and just, not to give damage to other person, and give anybody what he deserves. Therefore, make your duties, as education is the most powerful weapon that could be used to change the world, as Mandela told us. And always keep your mind free. Fill your heart with feelings of unity and peace. Love your brother as yourself, for a better place to live in. You have all my best wishes. Thank you.
May I now invite the Honorable Mr. Justice Chidya Siko, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Zimbabwe.
Dr. Jadish Gandhi, the staff, and the over 50,000 students of City Montessori School students who are our hosts. Your Excellencies, former and present heads of state here present, my lords, the Chief Justices of the world here present, honorable judges of the world here present, distinguished participants and delegates to this conference, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Let me start by thanking our hosts for the warm welcome and warm hospitality extended to me and my delegation since our arrival into this land of peace, India, the land of the great icon of peace, Mahatma Gandhi. Since 2001, the City of Montessori School at Lucknow, under the inspirational leadership of Dr. Jadish Gandhi, have organized annual international conferences of Chief Justices on Article 51 of the Constitution of India. Article 51 enjoins the state of India to strive for the promotion of international peace and security. The conferences have provided a unique opportunity for chief justices and judges of the world to share ideas and explore avenues on how they can use their offices to contribute towards the peace and security of the world as envisaged by Article 51 of the Indian Constitution. Since 2001, 15 conferences have been held. At all these conferences, discussions focused on steps which can be taken to address global issues facing mankind to safeguard the future of the world's over 2 billion children and the yet-to-be-born generations. May I take this opportunity to commend Dr. Gandhi and the organizers of these conferences on their tireless efforts in organizing these conferences annually. This speaks volumes of their commitment to the world peace through the rule of law and enforceable international law. In the 15 international conferences of Chief Justices of the world that have been held to date, more than 780 honorable Chief Justices and judges and eminent persons from 114 countries have participated. The general theme that has resonated in the previous conferences has revolved around the need to come up with an international law-making body and uniformly applicable enactments. Given the nature of the participants, I have no doubt in my mind that a gathering of this kind presents an opportunity for participants to engage and discuss strategies on how the nations can come together to establish enforceable human laws and an effective global governance. Recommendations made at such gatherings command attention given the status of the participants. It is therefore my hope that we, as the Chief Justices and representatives of the various judiciaries, will seize this opportunity to make a difference which will add value to the conference's cause. The theme of this conference, Uniting the World for Children through Enforceable World Law and Effective Global Governance, calls upon the nations to unite for the sake of the children born and the yet to be born, to come up with a global law which can be enforced to achieve one common goal of safeguarding the future. The theme also calls upon the entire world to come up with clear universal policies which guarantee respect for international law. It is a call for action not only for us as heads of the various judiciaries worldwide, but also for the various heads of states and heads of government to come up with a solution to the current global challenges hampering peace and security. The theme demands of us, the participants, and the world as a whole to fully commit ourselves in the creation of a united world which dedicates its efforts towards ensuring that mechanisms are put in place to establish international law which is enforceable and therefore creates an obligation on nations to recognize steps to safeguard the future of children. In this regard, Zimbabwe has a new constitution. Section 12 of the new constitution of Zimbabwe provides that the foreign policy of Zimbabwe must be based on the following principles. 1, the promotion and protection of international interests of Zimbabwe. 2, respect for international law. 3, peaceful coexistence with other nations. And 4, the settlement of international disputes by peaceful means. Quite clearly, Section 12 of the Zimbabwean Constitution bears very close resemblance to Article 51 of the Indian Constitution. Thus, India and Zimbabwe share a common perception for the settlement of international disputes by peaceful means within the framework of international law. To this end, India and Zimbabwe have adopted the same stance at many international fora. Zimbabwe has also taken steps to protect the children's rights as contained in the United Nations Convention on Rights of the Child and the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of Children through Section 19 of the Constitution. The rights of children have been made justiciable in terms of the Zimbabwean Constitution. Various aspects of legislation like the Children's Act, Domestic Violence Act, the Criminal Law Codification and Reform Act have made it obligatory for the state to protect children from various forms of abuse, such as child labor. The United Nations. It is impossible to adequately discuss the topic of this conference, uniting the world for the children through enforceable law and effective global governance, without reference to the function and role of the United Nations. The United Nations is an inevitable centerpiece of any discussion on the enforceable international law and the role of the Chief Justices and Judges of the world can play in the enactment of such enforceable international law. This proposition immediately throws up a number of questions. Among them, who or what is the United Nations? The United Nations is not some weird creature from Mars or some other planet. We, the citizens of the world, are the essential elements of the United Nations. We are the United Nations. The various nations that are made of us form the bricks that construct the United Nations. We are the United Nations. The United Nations is not owned, nor does it belong to the few mighty and powerful states, to the exclusion of those of us who are less powerful and not so rich. The United Nations belongs to us all, the rich and the poor, the mighty and not the so powerful. The success of the United Nations, the successes of the United Nations are our successes also. His failures are our failures. The mighty and the powerful, like the bullies at any school, are seeking to have and use the United Nations as their own and treat us, the small nations, as of no consequence. We must say no to this usurpation of the United Nations. The over 50,000 students of City Montessori School, under the tenacious leadership of Dr. Gandhi, have shown us the way. They have gathered the judiciaries of the world to strategize on how we can contribute to the enforcement or creation of a peaceful world for children through enforceable law and effective global governance. The CMAS is leading the way by reclaiming the space in the United Nations that has been usurped by the mighty and powerful. The next question that falls for discussion is the performance of the United Nations. Has the United Nations been a success or failure? If it has been a failure or a partial success, how best can we help it achieve the success for the benefit of us all? The success or failure of the United Nations can only be measured against the backdrop of the intended objective. It admits no debate that the United Nations was created to prevent further wars on earth. This, of course, came on the backdrop of the Second World War. A lot of citizens of the world are doubtful of the efficacy of the United Nations as an organization that can secure peace for the world. This pessimism is understandable given the number of war theaters around the world today. His Excellency, the former President of the Republic of South Africa, told us that there are currently 65 such war theaters throughout the world. The existence of so many war theaters around the world is a serious indictment against the United Nations' ability to fulfill its mandate of ensuring peace and security of the world. I, however, do not accept that it is all doom and gloom. I am an eternal optimist. I hold the view that without the United Nations, the world would be worse off than it is today. If it were not for the United Nations, the theaters of war could be double the number we are experiencing at the moment. I would even go further and suggest that were it not for the United Nations, probably by now would have had a failed war, possibly involving the use of nuclear weapons. Lest we forget, amongst the numerous achievements of the United Nations are some of the following are but a few. A, it has provided numerous peacekeeping forces throughout the troubled world. It has secured numerous treaties and conventions, some involving control of the proliferation of nuclear weapons, which has reduced the possibility of annihilation of this world through a nuclear war. It has created a platform for those who are about to engage in war to talk to each other and reflect before taking the final step. UNESCO and other United Nations agencies are doing a wonderful job for the world. When all is said and done, the United Nations is a positive development in international relations. We should not, as the saying goes, throw the baby with the water. The United Nations is the best instrument we have for the achievement of peace through enforceable international law. What needs to be done is to work on its improvement. Dr. Gandhi and his staff of 50,000 students of City Montessori School have shown us the way. They have assembled judiciaries of the world to deliberate and strategize on how to implement protection of the 2 billion children through enforceable world law and effective governance. Those who spoke before me have come up with brilliant ideas on how this can be achieved. I can only associate myself with their ideas. The City of Montessori School, through this conference, has inspired judiciaries of the world to greater heights of commitment towards the vision of uniting the world for children through enforceable law and effective global governance. The world knows how to achieve this. What is lacking and is the courage and the willingness to do the right thing. This is as much of our world as it is theirs. We must claim the space that is ours. We must not give up on the United Nations. The City Montessori School has not given up on the United Nations. They have shown this by organizing for the 16th time the present conference. With our support and other interested parties, we can form a formidable coalition of the willing to achieve a united world created by enforceable and effective international law and effective governance. I thank you for listening.
Many, many thanks, Honorable Mr. Justice.
Invite the chief guest of our session, His Excellency Mr. Stjepan Mesic, the President of the Republic of Croatia from 2000 to 2010, to please come and address this gathering. Would you please join me in welcoming our chief guest, His Excellency.
Gospodine Gandhi, gospođo Gandhi, gospođe i gospodo, kolege, dragi studenti,
Ms. Gandhi, honorary guests, and dear students.
meni je drago da mogu govoriti pred ovim auditorijem.
I'm very pleased and honored to speak in front of this auditorium.
Ispričavam se što ću biti kratak.
And I do apologize for being very short.
Znate, kad političari kažu da će biti kratki, obično to ne bude tako.
You know, normally when politics do say that they will talk briefly, it doesn't turn out to be that way.
Ali ja ću reći nekoliko svojih razmišljanja.
But I'll just point out a couple of my thoughts.
Prije svega, svi ratovi do sada uvijek su bili za otimanje tuđeg teritorija.
First of all the wars led so far have been conducted merely in the way to take the other country's territory.
Jednom je to bilo zbog hrane, drugi puta zbog tobože zaštite svoje nacionalne manjine.
It was either to take food and agriculture or to protect their national minority.
A sada mislim da možemo reći da se ratovi vode za energente, za kontrolu energenata.
But now the wars are led basically and merely for the control over the energens.
Ali uvijek poslije velikih ratova svijet je želio doći do takvog mehanizma koji će isključiti rat.
But always after a great war has been led, the world wanted to find a mechanism which would prevail other wars.
Eksperiment sa Ligom naroda nije uspio.
The experiment with League of the Nations failed.
Eksperiment sa Ujedinjenim narodima vidimo kako funkcionira.
And we see how the experiment with the United Nations functions.
Upravo u ovo vrijeme vodi se najviše ratova od Drugog svjetskog rata do danas.
As we speak, more wars are being led throughout the world than from the World War II.
Ujedinjene nacije nemaju odgovora kako zaustaviti te ratove ili, još važnije, kako spriječiti da do ratova dođe.
And the United Nations do not have the response on how to stop the wars that are led currently, nor how to prevent the wars being led in the future.
Zato je važno je sigurno kakve će poruke poslati ova konferencija.
Therefore, it is of utmost importance the issues and the suggestions that this conference will send out to the world.
Međunarodna zajednica putem Ujedinjenih nacija, a Ujedinjene nacije putem Vijeća sigurnosti pokušava uspostaviti mir tamo gdje je došlo do ratnog sukoba.
The international community through United Nations and United Nations through the Security Council is trying to establish the peace on the territory of the countries where the conflicts are led.
I sada u stvari treba reformirati Ujedinjene nacije tako da one mogu preventivno djelovati da do rata uopće ne dođe.
Therefore, the United Nations should be reformed in a way they could act in order to prevent a conflict.
I tu vidim i ulogu ove konferencije.
And there I see the role of this conference as well.
Ali upravo zato što se vode ratovi, a svijeti ne zaustavlja, treba sada tražiti uzroke.
But considering that the wars are led and the world does nothing to stop them or isn't efficient in stopping them, we'll have to see for the cause of the conflicts today.
Vidimo, milijunska masa ljudi je u pokretu. To je jedna seoba naroda.
Currently we have more than 1 million people moving from one territory to another. That's moving of nations at one stand. Huge migration.
Dakle, ne radi se o ljudima koji žele živjeti bolje. Radi se o tome da oni spašavaju goli život.
It's not about the people who want to lead better lives. It's about refugees that are running just to save their own life.
Svijet nema odgovora na taj izazov.
And the world does not have an answer to this jeopardy.
Vidite, sve rasprave koje se u Europi vode se kako zbrinuti imigrante.
All the discussions that are currently led in Europe are how to home the refugees.
A malo tko se usudi reći, a zašto je došlo do tih izbjeglica? Zašto oni bježe iz svojih domova?
But not many people dare to ask, why are those people running from their homes? How did we get that far?
Čitao sam u mojoj zemlji novine i kaže da su ovi imigranti dobro obučeni, da su uhranjeni i da dobro izgledaju. Dakle, imali su jedan solidan život.
I read one of the newspapers in my country and the article was arguing about what made those refugees really become a refugee. They are well fed, well dressed, they have expensive mobile telephones. So that means they were leading a nice and prosperous life in the country they came from.
Ali zašto čovjek koji ima solidan život bježi iz svoje zemlje? Bori se za goli život.
But why does a man who has a prosperous life in his country flee to another country? The only reason can be he's flying for his life.
Zato smatram da i uvođenje demokracija silom nije najbolje rješenje.
Therefore, I also think that establishing democratic societies by force is not the optimal solution.
Reći ću vam samo jedan primjer.
Only one example there too.
Za vrijeme Gaddafija u Libiji je radilo oko 30.000 stručnjaka, inženjera i tehničara iz Hrvatske u Libiji.
In Gaddafi's time in Libya, over 30,000 engineers and experts in their field only from our country, Croatia, went to Libya to work.
Dakle, nisu ljudi bježali iz Libije.
That means people were not running away from Libya.
A danas iz Sirije i Libije u Hrvatskoj ima preko 150.000 imigranata.
And today, from Syria and Libya, only in Croatia, there are only over 150,000 immigrants.
Ja ponovo apeliram da se pošalje i sa ove konferencije poruka.
It's my further request from this conference, one message should be sent.
Da treba rješavati uzroke današnjih kriza, a ne samo posljedice.
The cause of the crisis should be dealt with, not the subsequence. So the cause is the core of the solution.
Ovdje je već više puta rečeno što treba mijenjati u Ujedinjenim nacijama. Ja se samo zalažem za reformu Ujedinjenih nacija, da zemlje koje nisu postojale u vrijeme formiranja Ujedinjenih nacija nađu svoje mjesto u mehanizmima Ujedinjenih naroda.
This conference discussed more than once what should be changed, altered, and reformed in the United Nations. But I do stand very hardly on the fact that the countries that weren't even formed when the United Nations were founded should find their place in all the constituent bodies of United Nations.
Hvala vam lijepo.
Thank you so much.
He's spoken very briefly, and he started off with a very truism that when politicians say that they'll talk briefly, it doesn't usually turn out like that. He has made an appeal that instead of focusing on any other aspect of the problems are clear enough. There's wars, there was inability, failure of the League of Nations, the United Nations has also failed in preventing wars. So as we speak, there are wars raging around the world. No one has any idea how to stop them. So his important message to this conference is, and the one that he wishes this conference to send out to the world, is that you go to the root causes of the conflicts. Currently, 1 million people are moving internationally in terms of migration, and the world does not seem to have an answer to it. How to house these hundreds of thousands of refugees, millions of refugees? And why are the people running away from their homes? One must analyze the cause of the problem before one can give an effective remedy or a solution. And the reason that these prosperous people are leaving their homes is because their life is under threat. To establish democracy by force is not the answer. And his appeal to the conference is to attack the causes of the problem and not on other aspects. Thank you very much, sir, for your ideas, which will go certainly towards developing the resolutions that we will be deliberating on tomorrow. Thank you so much.